As we await Donald Trump, several breaking stories as we come on the air this evening. Right now, Donald Trump will hold the rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, back in the state for the first time since he was shot. He's been behind schedule all day. When he takes the stage, we will take you there. God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood has not yet started. Plus, Israel's on heightened alert tonight following the assassination of key leaders in Hamas and Hezbollah. The Middle East is on the brink. And Kamala Harris is in Houston tonight, speaking at an event for a black sorority as she enjoys her meteoric rise in the polls. We start in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is there, and we are going to tell you why he said something so controversial today. Whatever he says at the rally will not make nearly as much news. It won't come close to the fireworks of this panel earlier at the National Association of Black Journalists.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
So I don't know. Is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman.
I respect either one. I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner.
And boy, there were a lot more moments in Chicago. Many black journalists appeared more upset that Donald Trump showed up than they were at Kamala Harris for not showing up. For those keeping score, it's been 10 days since the presumptive Democratic nominee rose to the top of the ticket and has not had a single meaningful interaction with the press. Keep our eyes on Harrisburg and also here in the studio. Welcome you to the fairest show on television. We took Harris last night. We will take Donald Trump tonight. There has been a seismic shift in just the past 10 days. We're going to put the map up here. We'll also keep rally here on the screen as well so you can see it. This map to 270 right here is all that matters, and it has changed unimaginably. This is the problem for Donald Trump tonight. It's easy to get caught in the headlines. War in the Middle East. What is our president doing? Donald Trump is coming out to the stage. You can see there. He questioned whether Kamala Harris is black. Sort of an unthinkably stupid politically move, or was it? Watch for him tonight to go after Kamala Harris on her changes from last night on a number of issues. But everything Donald Trump says tonight, the different Donald Trump than what we saw from a couple of weeks ago, is because he is now behind in every measurable way from where he was 4 weeks ago. Donald Trump takes the stage for the first time maybe in 4 months as the clear underdog in this race. No presidential race has changed so much in 10 days, and Donald Trump right now is trying to reset it. Resetting political races, changing this map back, is one of the most difficult things that anybody can ever do. See if we can put up some of the swing state polling here, which this thing just died. Sometimes it happens. Technology is a crazy thing. We'll switch over to the other one and just give you a sense of how much things have changed in 10 days. All right. Arizona, he is now behind Harris. Georgia tied. Michigan, he's now down 10 points. Nevada down 2 points to Harris. North Carolina is now a possibility for Harris. Pennsylvania down 4 points. Wisconsin now is in play for Harris. That is absolutely stunning. 10 days ago, these were all Donald Trump states to lose. He was ahead by multiple points in each one. Georgia in particular. Mid-July, he was winning it by 6. Now it's tied depending on the poll. Some polls have Kamala Harris ahead. Donald Trump has to do something right now to reset this. This is his opportunity.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great crowd. There are a lot of people. Over 20,000 people couldn't get in, and we didn't need anybody to get the people here. We didn't need a star. We didn't need a star. We didn't need some entertainer to fill it up, and then she goes on last night. In about 6 minutes, everyone was leaving. They were pouring out. We don't need that. we've got our star. You know who the star is? All of you people are the star. You're the star. And I mean that. Hello, Harrisburg. A very special hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Thank you very much. As you know, this is my first return to Pennsylvania since our rally in Butler. We're going back to Butler, too, by the way. People said to me, "Are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious. We're going back. It's a great place." 18 days ago, where we had a very terrible day. We had a rough day, I will tell you, by all accounts. I should not be with you today. I shouldn't be with you. But I am. I want to thank all of the people of Pennsylvania for their extraordinary love and support. It is incredible. We're going to win this thing so big. We're going to win it big, including everyone at Butler Memorial Hospital. They were fantastic. Wow. Wow. They saw some pretty bad things. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, they did an amazing job. And we have, by the way, we have the doctor. One of the great doctors was there. He worked on Corey, actually. Corey had a hard time. Corey is special. Thank you, doctor. Appreciate it very much. Great doctors. Great doctors. The job they did on David Dutch and James Copenhaver was just incredible. And as you know, they brought him back from very, very seriously wounded. They were going to be maybe not with us. It was a group of us, but they are doing really well now. They're making it. They're going to be fine. Not going to be perfect, maybe, but who is? Who is? As we get older, who is perfect? But the doctors were so great. They had two great doctors also. And most of all, we lift our memory to the brave firefighter who was so cruelly taken from us, Corey Comparator. A very brave guy, loved by his family and his friends. He was really loved. In his last act on this earth, Corey threw himself over his wife and daughters and died, shielding them from the bullets of a very disturbed guy. Corey is a hero to all of us, I want to thank a friend of mine, too. I'm not going to mention his name because he's pretty well known. And he came up to me. He said, would it be okay if I presented Corey's wife and family with a check? And I said, yeah, it would be okay with me. It's certainly okay. And he handed me a check for $1 million. $1 million. Think of that. Thank you, Dan. So he was very generous. In addition, we have a GoFundMe that's, it's really been great. I think we're at $6 million mark for the three of them, plus some other people. So, but you know what? Corey's wife said, I'd rather have my husband. Isn't that good? I know a lot of wives that would not say that. I'm sorry. They would not say that. But no, it's a great family. He was a great man. He was a brave man. He saw what was happening and he jumped on top and he got hit. But we will carry Corey's spirit of love and devotion and patriotism with us for all time, and we will never forget Corey or his beautiful family. And maybe let's have a brief moment of silence in memory of Corey, great Pennsylvanian. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Beautiful. Beautiful. That is the most quiet I have ever heard an arena. I have never heard. You could hear a pin drop. No, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. In the wake of this heinous attack, we gather tonight more determined than ever. Our resolve is unbroken, and our will is undeterred. Nothing will stop us on our mission to make America great again. Nothing's going to stop us. Our country is doing badly. Front row Joe's over here. Front row Joes, look at them. They've been to 212 events. You know, I'm pretty sure we have their vote. I'm not sure. You can never be sure of anything. You're voting for Trump. Okay, front row Joes. They love us and we love them. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. But as we're fighting to bring back the American dream for you and your family, the radical left Democrat Party bosses have installed a puppet candidate to fight only for themselves. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. She's totally scripted, owned, and controlled by the donors and the power brokers who created her campaign and who rip off our government and make billions and billions of dollars. They want to call them up and they want to deal with her. And I didn't deal like that. I never dealt like that. I didn't need the money. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I told a lot of guys that I like and some guys that I don't like, but very rich people, I just can't do that. I can't do it. They want to do the telephone systems. They want to do lots of little things like that. We'd like to take over the telephone system of the United States. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But unlike her, I cannot be bought and I cannot be controlled. I have no interest in that. My only loyalty is to you, the people. And you know that. Well, I could have had such a nice, easy life. I could be at a nice place right now, relaxing, watching the waves breaking. But I'd rather be right here in Harrisburg with you. People that built our country. You're the people that built our country. I mean, some people don't like saying that, but you are indeed the people that built the country. We have, no matter where we go, we have the most incredible people. After lying to the country for years about Joe Biden's mental and physical condition, Kamala is now being given a personality makeover. Don't forget, 4 weeks ago, she was like considered the worst. Not smart. Terrible, the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president we've ever had. But they were considered terrible. And all of a sudden, she's the new Margaret Thatcher. That happened, right? The great Margaret Thatcher. No, I don't think so. But you're gonna learn little things like defund the police. That doesn't work, does it, huh? You're gonna learn. Because everything about Kamala Harris rollout, it's phony and it's fake. Did you see when President Obama and Michelle called? Did you see? Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Who is this? Oh, this is Michelle and Barack. Oh. So surprised to hear. They got 4 cameras in front. Oh, I'm so surprised. It's on speakerphone. Listen, we just want to congratulate you on destroying Joe Biden. I mean, on winning the... Hey, is Joe Biden gonna... Was that the phoniest phone call you've ever seen? How do you think, Dan? What do you think? Dan Muser, great congressman. What do you think? Was that a phony phone call? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't get away. In your district, you wouldn't get away with it, would you? But she's a defund the police radical trying to pass herself off as a tough on crime prosecutor. She wasn't tough on crime. She's only tough on guys like me because they want to go after their political opponents. And we won the big case in Florida. Did you see? We won it. And he had a similar case, but it was much worse, and he didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He had a similar case. And you know, the special counsel, which is basically special prosecutor, adjudged him to be essentially mentally incompetent, with poor memory, but a nice old guy. He's not old. You know, 81 is not old. I have friends that are 95 that are still. Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot, 95 years old, still sharp, still sharp. I spoke to him the other day. I said, I think you're smarter now than you were 30 years ago. I don't know what's going on. I said, what's going on? It's working every 81 is not old. And but he's different. He's a bad 81. He's a bad 81. And he's destroying our country, I'll tell you. And she's worse than he is. She is actually worse than he is because she's a real radical left. He's a phony radical left. He didn't believe this stuff. He didn't believe in open borders, and she does. She wants to open your borders. She wants to have all-electric cars. She loves the all-electric car mandate. She destroyed San Francisco. But she's the architect of the border invasion, trying to pretend she's strong on border security. She's now pretending that she was never called the border czar. She was called the border czar the first day. She's the border czar. And she never went. She actually went, you know, they say, they fact-check me. Anything I say is like a little... She actually went to a beautiful part of the border. I would love to take my First Lady wife there to have dinner. It's beautiful, very safe. No, she didn't go to the real border, did she, Front Row Joe? She went to a nice little place, was there for a short period of time and left. So she's never really been to the border, and she's the border czar, and our country's being invaded with people from prisons and people from mental institutions and terrorists. She's a failed vice president leading a failed administration while trying to convince you that she represents hope and change. Well, she does represent change. She wants to turn us into a communist country. That's her change. She was voted the most unpopular vice president in history. That's hard for a vice president to be that unpopular, right? Just like Biden will go down as the single worst president in the history of our nation. The happiest man is Jimmy Carter. He's an old guy right now. He's an old guy, but he's happy because his administration is considered brilliant. Brilliant by comparison to this disaster that we have right now. In her speech in Atlanta last night, Kamala Harris even tried to outbrand a new Southern accent. Did you hear a new accent? If I ever did that, all of those people back there, look at them, look at all those cameras. That's something. Oh, when I go through hell, I'd have a week of hell if I ever tried to do that. The contrast could not be more stark. On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight for America. This is a hell of a big arena. How many seats is this? Looks like Madison Square Garden. This is a big, beautiful place. Wow. I didn't care. Although they'd prefer that we be in an arena. I don't know why. But we're not giving up the outdoor rallies. You know, all those people that we had to turn away today at an outdoor rally, we had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey. 107,000. But you know, in the South Bronx, we had 25,000 people. It was like a love fest. South Bronx, tough place, but it was a lot of love. No matter how much Kamala Harris tries to change her image, she cannot change this fact. She is the most extreme liberal candidate in the history of our country by far. She's an extreme radical left lunatic. And, you know, I've been saying for the last 6 months, I've been saying about politicians, because I really know politicians well. I've dealt with them on both sides. And, you know, then I said, let's do this, you know, thank you. But when a politician comes out early on with an idea like she wants to defund the police and all these other things she wants to do, really bad things, that's where they're at. They're going to be there eventually, right? Mike Kelly. Stand up, Mike, will you please? This guy, he used to stand up. He's my friend. He endorsed me on day one, right? Day one. Day one. He endorsed me before I was running. He said, that guy's got to run. I endorsed him. I didn't even run. How many endorsements do I have? Well, you got Kelly of Pennsylvania. I wasn't running. Anyway, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. He would stand out at those outdoor rallies when it was 10 degrees below zero and it was 97 degrees out without a shirt on. It's not that pretty a sight. Not that pretty, but he had no fear. He's a tough guy, and they love him. They love you in this state. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion socialist takeover of the entire U.S. health care system. Think of this. U.S. health care, it would mean that we're going to have to raise your taxes, bankrupt our country, and she supported outlawing all of the private health insurance. A lot of people in this room have some people want private health. Some of it's incredible. You go to these companies, they're doing an incredible job. They want to be able to, she wants that banned and she wants that outlawed. You can't buy that anymore. You're paying for it, but it's great stuff. I mean, some of the companies have unbelievable, the golden plans and all that, and she wants it to be ended. She pledged to give free taxpayer-funded health care to all illegal aliens. Think of that. Oh, and she'll do that, which will totally destroy our Social Security system. She sponsored a bill to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded lawyers so they could sue us. And she called for abolishing ICE. These are unbelievable patriots, by the way. They're almost as tough as our congressman sitting in the front. They're almost as tough as the man that's going to be your next governor, by the way. He's tough, too. He's tough. He's a great military hero. And he'll come up. I'm allowed to have him up for a little while, right? Just a couple of minutes, right? He's great. He's great. And I hear you're doing very well. But you get ready. You got to knock them dead. She compared ICE agents to members of the KKK. She likened Border Patrol agents to practitioners of human slavery. We have a lot of those great people here tonight, like Brandon Judd, the head of the union, Paul. We have so many different people. And they didn't like that analogy too much. She voted in favor of deadly sanctuary cities numerous times. She supports open borders. That's all you'd have to hear. I think 2 words. You know, they say, sir, go down a list. We have a list of 25 things. All you really have to say is 2 things. Open borders, defund the police. The rest is all, but, you know, although she is going to kill Social Security, because by putting all of these illegal aliens into Social Security, it's dead. It's dead. She opposes even saying the words illegal alien and radical Islamic terrorists. She backs mass amnesty, and citizenship for all illegals. She supports mandatory gun confiscation. Would anybody mind, Mr. Congressman, would they mind having their guns ripped out of their arms as they enter their house or their apartment? I don't think so. I don't think. She said that 70 to 80% tax rate is, quote, a very bold idea, something that we have to discuss very seriously. She likes it. And, you know, all my life I've watched politicians, and they've always said, we will reduce your taxes, we will reduce your taxes, we will cut your taxes. They want to give you a tax increase of 5 times what you're paying now. How the hell do you get elected? This country is so screwed up. Everything's backwards. We want open border, we want taxing. How do you like to be a politician? We want open borders, we want tax increases, we want all electric cars so that you can go 15 minutes before you charge it up. And for all the congressmen that are here in the Midwest.
All right, listening to Donald Trump in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We took 20 minutes of Kamala Harris last night. Take 20 minutes of Donald Trump tonight. Fair is fair. We're also news folks, so we're going to keep listening into Donald Trump and see if he has anything new to say. Couple of things, a little emotional as he was back in Pennsylvania for the first time since being shot. There was some noted softness in his voice off the top. More directed attacks at Kamala Harris. Number one, on health care, on the border, on illegal immigration and on her record as a prosecutor. This comes sort of in direct response to what happened last night at Harris's rally. Raucous crowd, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, town of about 50, 60,000 people, full arena there. Obviously, Harris filled a similar-sized arena in Atlanta, Georgia, a little bit different, but the crowd in Harrisburg certainly had an enthusiasm, back in the game, you might say, in a way that we have not seen at Trump crowds as of late, certainly before Joe Biden dropped out. The one thing Donald Trump didn't talk about, last night Kamala Harris didn't say Joe Biden's name. There's a reason for that. And so far in his speech today, Donald Trump has not addressed the biggest news of the day, which is he went to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago, and he seemed to allude on stage that Kamala Harris was making up, changing her black identity. Why he said that, there's a reason he said that. I'm going to tell you why he did something that politically seems completely nuts when we come back.
And so, in such a horrible manner, first question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network. She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black.
Sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well,
you would pardon those rioters?
If you haven't turned on your TV today, things got a little heated when Donald Trump showed up to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago. Noteworthy that Kamala Harris, his competitor, didn't show up. They were both invited, evidently. Delano Massey, managing editor of Axios, was also there. Well, you guys got quite a show. It did not disappoint, I guess could be the way of saying it. I want to play from top to bottom for you what Donald Trump said about Kamala Harris when asked about whether she was a DEI hire, and get your reaction. Go ahead and play it.
When you ask, continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't know.
Said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
And then he went on to say whether or not she was or was not black. He said that she's changed. At first she was Indian, now she's black. Okay. What was the reaction in the room when he said that?
I think there was just a lot of disbelief, and it's because from a historic standpoint, it's certainly something, whether you call it DEI now, is taking racism has taken on a new name, a new front. And similarly, it's like whenever people would say that someone is an affirmative action hire, it is an insulting thing, but it's also one of the things, it's a trope that people have had to combat for a long time. And I think that most of the people in that room, a collection of black journalists, nearly 2,000 or more than 2,000 people in that room, I think that resonated with people in a different way. And I think there were some outward gasps, and there were just people who were reacting to this, in a bit of disbelief.
There was other moments there, though, of boos, of jeers, of cheers. I've never seen a group of journalists act as though they had a side in a political rally vocally in that way. What'd you make of the outward expression, not just at that question, but almost at every moment, of emotion, positive or negative?
I think there's a mixture of people in the room. I mean, they're not all journalists. I think that there's a collection of people who are adjacent to journalism. Could be public relations, could be academia.
Podcasters. Okay, so we give everybody the benefit of the doubt that the real journalists, capital J journalists, weren't cheering or booing or anything else. I think about this in a sense. Journalists are lousy media critics, so I'm not going to ask you to be one. But I'm trying to understand why there was so much anger and consternation over Donald Trump showing up. And there was really no mention, it didn't seem anybody was upset, that Kamala Harris did not.
I think that there was a lot of people who were upset because this isn't the first time that a candidate has been asked to come to NABJ. It is something historically that does happen. The invitation has been extended to Donald Trump multiple times, President Trump multiple times. This was the first time that he had actually accepted the invitation.
And that's a bad thing?
I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I think that a lot of people in some of the membership felt like you're giving somebody a platform who has openly been racist or had made racist comments, and there was some concern about platforming that person. Even in an election year, because there are also Black journalists in the room, there were concerns about the way that he responded to the 3 Black women, especially to Rachel Scott. He was being disrespectful to her. And I think that there was a lot of concern heading into this from the membership. Some members felt like this is giving him an opportunity to do some of the things that actually were on display today.
A lot to break down there. Just in the issue of disrespectful, I'm not in the business of critiquing other journalists, but people can decide for themselves sort of how the back and forth went between them and this person is the president of was the president of the United States, may be again. But again, in terms of disrespectful, Kamala Harris has not spoken to the press for 10 days. She's not had a meaningful interaction with the press. And I still don't understand the anger. Fine, you want to be angry at Donald Trump for all those things and on and on and on. I just don't understand a press corps that's not chomping at the bit to talk to Kamala Harris and angry that she's not.
Well, I think that's also trying to put a lot of it onto the press corps. Like the members found out earlier this week that President Trump was going to be there. So this is a group of people who came out. If he was there, they also talked to President Ken Lemon, and he's trying to extend an opportunity for Harris to come as well. Vice President Harris has not, to this point, accepted that invitation, though they said today that could happen in September. If they end up having a conversation in September, members would welcome that opportunity as well. I think.
You think she'll get as hard of questions as Trump did?
I think that the journalists are going to ask tough questions to any candidate that shows up. There wasn't, I don't know that any of these questions were tough in a sense. Like these are the questions.
Come on, Donna. We can. I'm not going to ask you to be a media critic, but I've sat through a lot of interviews in my life. Rachel Scott, in particular, and fine, really drilled down and followed up and hammered and hammered. There was not a single softball question there. I'm just asking you think if Kamala Harris shows up to, I think, what would be called a pretty friendly environment, she's going to get those kind of really tough questions. There's tough questions to ask her. You think she's going to get them?
I think that when you have an opportunity to ask a tough question, whoever that person is, but especially a presidential candidate, and in this case, the media hasn't really been asking him the questions that Rachel actually did ask. And so she did ask him those questions and even asked them in succession.
I've heard the media. I don't want to argue about it. I mean, I've heard the media ask him the same question over and over again that she asked about January 6th and others. All right, Delano, thank you. Appreciate the perspective from being on the ground there. Thank you. And if Kamala Harris comes to NABJ, we'll have you back to talk about it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. He is literally, the person you're looking at on the screen, we'll put his picture up, is a political unicorn. Who is Andy Bashir? And why a man with very little name recognition? This guy. You haven't seen him very much, have you? Maybe not even know his name if you didn't see his picture. How he could turn the presidential election on its head. All right, Donald Trump now talking about January 6th and the select committee on January 6th. Perhaps a little bit off the teleprompter of certainly where his campaign would like him to be. He's in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania right now. Keep monitoring. If there's news, we'll go back to it. We come to the wall. This map is all that matters. This decides the presidency. Pennsylvania is worth 19 electoral college votes. It is the biggest of the swing states. The popular Democratic governor there is a fellow named Josh Shapiro. We profiled him yesterday on the show. He's on Kamala Harris's shortlist. Then we look at Kentucky here. Dark red, not far away, sort of the triangulation of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia. You find Kentucky. The Democratic governor there won by 5 points, but it's a red state because Trump won by 26 points. Trump won it by 26 points as a Democratic governor. Kentucky's far east. Right here, it looks a lot like western Pennsylvania when you look at the populations. Its cities, we think about Louisville and Lexington. Louisville, Kentucky, and Atlanta, Georgia, share a lot of similarities. Andy Beshear is the unicorn. He is the Democratic governor in a dark red state. That earns him a spot on the vice presidential shortlist, too. Hannah Pinsky covers Andy Beshear every day for the Louisville, Kentucky Courier-Journal and joins us now. Is Beshear really sort of a generational talent, or is he a closet Republican? What's so special about him?
You know, I think one of the reasons why I'm talking with political scientists about is obviously, like you said, Beshear was able to win as a Democrat governor in a deep red state. And what's also notable is his dad is Steve Beshear, and Steve Beshear was also a Democrat governor for Kentucky and was also serving in the Kentucky House of Representatives at one point. He was also lieutenant governor as well and attorney general. And Governor Andy Beshear was also attorney general before he stepped into the governor position. So I think, Governor Andy Beshear takes after his father a bit. And also, I think what also makes him appealing is he focuses on kitchen table issues such as jobs, the economy, and public education, which is appealing to both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, and to be fair, on a lot of those issues, he's much more centrist, you might say, than to the far left of things. One thing he figured out how to deal with, even in a dark red state, is the issue of abortion. And it was this ad that won him, many would say, the governor's mansion. Take a listen.
I was raped by my stepfather after years of sexual abuse. I was 12. Anyone who believes there should be no exceptions for rape and incest could never understand what it's like to stand in my shoes. This is to you, Daniel Cameron. To tell a 12-year-old girl she must have the baby of her stepfather who raped her is unthinkable.
Cameron was the fellow that Andy Beshear beat. Andy Beshear is definitely a Democrat in a red state. Is he far enough left to be acceptable to the progressive wing of the Democratic Party?
I think that's a great question, and I think that's what a lot of political scientists are debating about. I think, like I've said, he focuses a lot on the kitchen table issues such as jobs, the economy, as well as public education. But recently, I know as well, he's also come after J.D. Vance in a couple of national media appearances on CNN.
Yeah, we have some of those. We'll play those. Take a listen.
Let me be clear. J.D. Vance ain't from Kentucky. He ain't from Appalachia, and he ain't going to be your vice president.
J.D. Vance is a phony. He's fake. I mean, he first says that Donald Trump is like Hitler, and now he's acting like he's Lincoln.
That's weird, it's mean, and it's disqualifying. I've told people he ain't from Kentucky, he ain't from Appalachia.
All right. Is there something about Andy Beshear that when you see him, and how does he deal with this, that he is the son of a governor? He was born, there's talk he's born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but this is not a man of the working class.
Yeah, and I think that's something, some Republicans here have pointed out is, when Beshear has attacked J.D. Vance for not being from Kentucky, a lot of the Republicans, point out, they say on X that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. They've said, he is a Nepo baby and things like that. So I think it's really interesting to kind of see the dynamic and see that play out between Vance and Beshear over these past couple of weeks, especially after, Beshear has really doubled down on the criticisms against J.D. Vance.
Well, I'll tell you this, Hannah. If he gets picked to be the vice presidential nominee, you've got about 95 days of the ride of your life as a young reporter. So good luck. We'll be following your reporting, and Andy Beshear's not going anywhere. So if you're on the short list, there's a bright political future and therefore a lot to cover for someone like yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too. Live pictures of northern Israel overlooking the border with Lebanon. Israel just reportedly killed two of the terrorists in the world, two of the world's top terrorists. Benjamin Netanyahu the leader of Israel, just gave the middle finger to Biden and Harris. Will he get punished? Where they are quite literally on red alert for a possible Iranian counterattack. The New York Times reporting that the Iranian Supreme Ayatollah has ordered an attack by Iran on Israel. The leader of Hamas, the political leader, died overnight in what seemed like an airstrike, possibly could have been some type of rocket-propelled grenade or something like that in Tehran, was killed. Israel has not claimed responsibility for the attack, but the Iranians reportedly have promised a retaliatory attack on Israel. And you think about that, whoever killed this guy did so in Tehran, just in the hours leading up to the inauguration of their new president. It was almost certainly Israel. Bad things happen to bad people. In Lebanon, a strike outside of Beirut killed a leading Hezbollah commander, and the United States carried out defensive strikes here in Iraq. That's probably separate from these two things. Interestingly enough, the United States did not get a heads up from Israel about either of these two targeted assassinations. World's a safer place with these two guys off the map. Last week, President Biden, Vice President Harris all but begged the Israeli Prime Minister to help with a ceasefire in Gaza. And Netanyahu effectively gave them the middle finger with these strikes. Now the White House is on defense.
Our job since the beginning of this conflict, in addition to making sure Israel has what it needs to defend itself, in addition to making sure the people of Gaza aren't suffering more than they already are, is to manage risk in the region.
Ambassador Kurt Volker is with us, former U.S. ambassador to NATO. We'll put up live pictures also of the White House where President Biden is. Look, times like this are dangerous. I think we can all agree on that the chance of all-out war in the Middle East is real. You could ask the question, what is President Biden doing? Is it enough? On and on and on. I'll ask it differently. Not what is my president doing? Is he capable, now as a lame duck, of keeping the Middle East from descending into a full war?
Well, look, thank you for having me. Look, there's two parts to your question there. Is he capable? He clearly was deemed not capable of running for re-election, running a campaign for president over the next 3 months. So is he capable of being president? That's anybody's guess. You know, that's a question mark. But more to the point of policy is that the defining characteristic of this administration's policies, whether it's towards Iran or towards Russia, it is we don't want to escalate. We want to avoid escalation. We don't want to do anything that might cause our adversaries to do something else. Well, that is a recipe for signaling to our adversaries that we are weak, that we do not have the resolve, and therefore it's a green light to them to go ahead and do the next thing. That's how we saw the Taliban take over Afghanistan. That's how we saw Russia decide to invade Ukraine again. That's how we saw Iran decide to launch all of these new attacks from Hamas, from the Houthis, now from Hezbollah. And that's all a result of signaling to them that we don't want to meet them. We don't want to stare them down.
The fact that the Israelis did this a week after meeting with Harris and Biden, who both really want a ceasefire. I lived in the Middle East for 4 years. I haven't been involved in diplomacy for nearly as long as you are, but I read that very much as a big middle finger from Benjamin Netanyahu to the United States, but also telegraphing, because he felt he had to the Iranians and to Hezbollah and to the Lebanese and to the rest of the radical Islamic world, I'm not going to be restrained by America's desire for non-escalation. That did not go over so well with Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State. Take a listen.
Nothing takes away from the importance of, as I said a moment ago, getting to the ceasefire, which is manifestly in the interests of the hostages and bringing them home. It's manifestly in the interests of Palestinians who are suffering terribly every single day.
Is the ceasefire the panacea that this administration seems to think it is?
That's a great question. And let's be clear. I know Tony Blinken. I have a great deal of respect for Tony Blinken. But that assessment, in my view, is simply wrong. If you have a ceasefire, that is a signal to Hamas that they don't have to give up the hostages. They succeeded in holding off America and Israel because they had those hostages. Now there's a ceasefire. Now they can breathe. Now they can regroup. The last thing they're going to do is give up those hostages. And so it's sending all of the wrong signals by going in that direction. The signal we need to send is you will be destroyed if you continue to hang on to these hostages. We're going to come and get them. You're not going to get in the way, and then we can talk.
Yeah, that signal certainly has not been sent. Mr. Ambassador, I could talk to you all night. We got caught with the Trump news in the rally earlier today that we took, so we got a little tight on time. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, an important point that we brought up today, we take live pictures of the White House. Was President Biden woken up when the leader of Hamas was killed overnight? That is a question the White House would not answer. Did President Biden get the 3 a.m. phone call? It goes to the point of the ambassador. We started with the Trump rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I told you all show I would tell you why he said that wild thing about Kamala Harris, about whether or not she is black or not and she can choose. We never got to the why part. We will tomorrow night. Donald Trump's still on the stump trying to change the momentum. Chris is next.